A young man went bankrupt, lost his own studio, and nearly gave up on drawing entirely.
He had almost nothing left, just a pencil, an idea, and a stubborn refusal to quit.
From that failure, he would build an empire of imagination that changed entertainment forever.
A mouse with big ears would become known across the entire world. Walt Disney was born in 1901 in Chicago, one of 5 children in a working-class family. His father moved the family often, chasing new business ventures that rarely succeeded for long. As a boy, Walt loved drawing, often sketching animals and neighbors on scraps of paper he found. He sold his earliest drawings to neighbors for pocket change, showing an early instinct for both art and business. School never fully held his attention. He doodled constantly, imagining stories far more exciting than his lessons. The family later moved to a small Missouri farm, where Walt developed a lasting love for animals and nature. He sold newspapers before dawn to help support the household, a habit of hard work that stayed with him. During World War I, at just 16, Walt lied about his age to join the Red Cross overseas. He drove ambulances in France, decorated with cartoon drawings instead of standard military markings. When he returned home, he pursued commercial art, eventually landing a job creating short animated advertisements in Kansas City. It was there that Walt first fell in love with the young, largely unexplored art of animation. He spent nights studying borrowed books on animation technique, teaching himself frame by painstaking frame. A co-worker at the studio, a young artist named Ub Iwerks, would later become one of Walt's most important collaborators. In 1922, Walt started his own small animation studio called Laugh-O-Gram Films. The studio produced short, modernized fairy tales, but struggled constantly with money and unpaid bills. Within 2 years, Laugh-O-Gram went completely bankrupt, and Walt was left with almost nothing. He later said he sometimes ate cold beans straight from the can, unable to afford a proper meal. Rather than give up, 21-year-old Walt packed a single suitcase and moved to Hollywood, California. He carried with him little more than a half-finished film reel and a stubborn belief in his own ideas. Many people in his position would have chosen a safer, more stable career after such a public failure. In Hollywood, Walt partnered with his older brother Roy, who handled the business side of their new venture. Together, they founded what would eventually become the Walt Disney Studio, starting with small animated shorts. Their early character, Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, became modestly popular, finally offering the brothers some financial stability. Then, in a devastating turn, a business dispute cost Walt the legal rights to Oswald entirely. Losing his own creation taught Walt a painful lesson he would never forget for the rest of his career. Determined never to lose control of a character again, Walt created something entirely new, a cheerful mouse. Early sketches show the character was almost named Mortimer, until Walt's wife suggested a friendlier name instead. Mickey Mouse made his debut in 1928 in a short film called Steamboat Willie. That film was groundbreaking, one of the first cartoons ever perfectly synchronized with sound. Audiences were thrilled, and almost overnight, Mickey Mouse became a genuine cultural phenomenon. Walt himself voiced Mickey Mouse for nearly 2 decades, giving the character genuine warmth and personality. Merchandise, from watches to lunchboxes, soon followed, and the character's popularity only kept growing. Throughout the 1930s, Walt kept pushing animation forward, refusing to settle for what already worked. In 1937, he released Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the first full-length animated feature film in history. Critics and rivals mockingly called it Disney's Folly, certain that audiences wouldn't sit through a feature-length cartoon. Instead, the film became a massive success, praised for its artistry, emotion, and technical achievement. It proved that animation could tell serious, feature-length stories, not just short comedic gags. The film's success allowed Walt to build a much larger, more advanced studio in Burbank, California. For the first time, hundreds of animators, artists, and technicians worked together under one ambitious creative roof. Walt continued producing ambitious animated films throughout the following decades, including Pinocchio, Fantasia, and Bambi. Each film pushed technical boundaries further, experimenting with sound, color, and increasingly complex storytelling. World War II disrupted the studio's momentum as international markets closed and government contracts shifted its focus. Despite the challenges, Disney Studio continued producing propaganda films and training materials to support the war effort. Many of Walt's most talented animators were drafted, leaving the studio short-staffed during a genuinely difficult stretch. Financially, these were lean years, and the studio's ambitious feature-length projects slowed considerably during wartime. After the war, Walt's ambitions grew even larger, extending well beyond the animated screen. In 1955, he opened Disneyland in Anaheim, California, an entirely new kind of amusement park. Critics were skeptical again, doubting that families would travel far just to walk through a fantasy landscape. Walt personally oversaw every detail, from landscaping to costume design, obsessed with creating a fully immersive experience. Disneyland became an enormous success, welcoming millions of visitors within just its first few years. Walt reportedly funded much of the early construction personally, even taking out a loan against his own life insurance. He wanted a park where parents and children could enjoy themselves together, unlike most amusement parks of that era. Walt also embraced new technology throughout his career, becoming an early and enthusiastic supporter of television. His television programs introduced Disney's characters and parks to entirely new generations of American families. Walt himself often appeared on screen, speaking directly and warmly to viewers, unusual for a studio head at the time. That personal touch helped build enormous public trust in the Disney name, well beyond just his films. Behind the cheerful public image, though, Walt was known as a demanding, detail-obsessed perfectionist at work. He would famously reject drawings dozens of times, insisting every frame meet his exact creative vision. Animators who worked with him described both immense pressure and deep respect for his relentless standards. Walt rarely took credit publicly for individual drawings, preferring the studio's work to feel like a single, unified vision. In his final years, Walt began planning an even larger project, an experimental community in Florida. He envisioned it as a place where new technologies and urban ideas could be tested and refined. Walt called it Epcot, short for an experimental prototype community of tomorrow. He worked on detailed models and plans for the project right up until his final months. Sadly, Walt Disney passed away in December 1966, before that vision could be fully realized. His brother Roy continued the project, eventually opening Walt Disney World in Florida in 1971. Today, the company Walt founded from almost nothing has grown into a global entertainment empire. Its films, parks, and characters are recognized in nearly every country around the entire world. Walt Disney once said, "All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them." His own life, from bankruptcy to a global empire, remains one of the clearest examples of that idea. What do you think mattered more to Walt's success, his creativity or his refusal to quit? Tell me in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next episode.